Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is, it's Thursday, October 10th. And as many of you know, the sales took place this week over in Hong Kong. And if you watched them, there were some real upsides and there were some downsides. There were some things that didn't work out too well. And it was sort of what we predicted because as we've said so many times, the market has gotten increasingly selective for the last 5 or 6 years. And this series of sales in Hong Kong was no exception. However, some great things went off the block and brought a lot of money, and there were some things that didn't do so well, didn't sell at all, and it's mainly due to probably overexcitement on the estimate side. But anyway, we're going to get into it right now, and we're going to start over here with this one. This was important Chinese ceramics at Sotheby's. All of these are Sotheby's sales, and we're going to start with some of the things that we'll go through the things that we looked at in the preview, and one of them was that rather attractive Dingyao vase that I like so much. That was Northern Song or Liao dynasty, but I thought it was beautiful. It had an estimate of $255,000 to $383,000, and it went through its high estimate and ended up selling for $318,000, which I think is okay because it's quite a thing. Just a beautiful example, it really was. And then we got to get over here to the pillow. Here he is, the young, again, another Northern Song to Jin dynasty, the Dingyao pillow. Beautiful example. It was estimated at $383,000 to $510,000 US, and it ended up selling for $471,000, right in the upper range of its estimate. Heck of a nice thing, and it did just fine in the end. All right, and now, oh yeah, the Yuan vase that we had wondered about. Let's hop over there. There it is. This was something I and a bunch of people had noticed that, the estimates on this seemed awfully low for a piece this rare. And I heard from a friend of mine in Asia who had gotten the condition report, and he said that according to Sotheby's, this vase had been rather extensively restored. The upper section here, up through here, had been reworked. There'd been some things done to it, and I suspect that's what killed it. It didn't sell. It had a low estimate of $281,000, and that's the way it goes. Okay, restored pieces are a drag on the market. People, trying to sell restored pieces, it can be rather difficult, and this was not an exception. All right, and now we're going to hop over to that great statue. Do you remember the figurine, the Wan Li, the dated statue? I thought this was just great. I loved this. It was big. It was 14 inches tall or something. How big was this thing? 18 inches tall. That's right. It was really big. I thought it was beautiful, nice glaze, evenly done throughout, and just a fabulous piece. And I guess everybody loved this thing. The high estimate was $70,000. It tripled that and went for $210,000. But what a thing! What a great looking thing. So and it was it hadn't been tossed around the market much. Apparently, there wasn't any big long write-ups on provenance and all that. Just an elegantly beautiful thing and big. All right, and now on to this. The Enamel Bowl. This was that Imperial Falancai Bowl. They had big hopes for it, $510,000 to $765,000, and it did not sell. Did not find a buyer at that price range. These bowls, many of you know, have brought more in the past. Who knows? Maybe everybody that wants one has one. I don't know, but it didn't sell. I don't recall how high the bidding got, but it was somewhere in the $400,000 range. And that's the end of that, all right? So it'll probably come back at some point, but not anytime soon, I suspect, because it's a very memorable thing, and people are going to remember it when it comes back and say, oh, yeah, that's the bowl that didn't sell. And that's a bowl you don't want to really own all the time. Once they get tagged in the auction world as having not sold, it's a black mark on the piece. I hate to say it, but that's what happens. All right, and then on to this was that fabulously pretty Dalsai Yongzheng bowl with the dragons on it that I talked about a bit because the photographs are so great. You could really see the thing, and just a fabulous color, beautiful soft blues. Love the facial expressions of the dragons. You have this one down here looking a bit more fierce, and this one up top looking a little bit he was concerned about what might be going on in the area. They're two very different types of dragons. And this bowl did just fine. It had a low estimate of 153 and a high of 230,000. And it ended up doing great. It brought 191,000. It brought sort of right in the upper mid-range of the estimate. And off it goes. That was it. All right. And then hopping over to... going to enter the page numbers here. Okay, there we go. Over to, let's see what piece this is. Oh, this really nice Sanduo bowl. This was a really pretty one. This had the pomegranates on it. You may recall we talked about it a bit. I loved the way the pomegranates were shaded, the way the leaves were outlined. Very, very simple, very elegant. Good use of negative space. Not too crowded visually, and the whole thing just worked really, really, really well, I thought. And it ended up doing fine. It went way over its high estimate of 447,000. Brought 816,000. So that was a good thing, huh? You know, I'm not terribly surprised. I thought that was really pretty. And then we're going to slip over here to this very nice roux-type Qianlong vase with the beautiful elephant handles on it. Liked this a lot, too. I thought this was beautiful. The glaze was so even. And as you recall, you could pull in the pictures and get a very nice look of the crackle, at how the crackle forms on these, to sort of train your eye a little bit. It's always good to look at the close-ups they provide. Now that they've changed the technology, how they're uploading, and the image quality is better, you can really zoom in on these pieces, and it's as though they're right in front of you. It's quite something. And this did great also. This brought $864,000 against an a high estimate of 640,000. So it went well above its high estimate, and for good reason. It was a nice looking thing. All right, and then we'll hop over to page 122, and this is the Beijing Enamel. You may remember we talked about this. This was that beautiful Beijing enamel vase with the European scene on it. And again, this is one of those things that can be a little tricky to estimate. And they gave it an estimate of 383 to 510,000, which is a big estimate for for Beijing enamel. And the audience agreed. It didn't sell. So that's going to go back into storage somewhere. Let's see here. This had come from the Bernat and Chang collection, so it had very good provenance, no doubt about that. It just didn't strike anybody strong enough to want to reach into their wallet for $383,000 or more dollars, and that's the way it goes. All right, now we're going to hop over here to Sotheby's Important Chinese Works of Art. This is the one that had the really wonderful Xuande Dragon Cup on the cover, and we'll get to that in just a second. But first, we're going to start with this very, very nice Lingxi bowl, Marken period, a Yongzheng period, a beautiful example, really, really beautiful piece of porcelain, elegant. I love the shading of the fungus here at the bottom, all the different tones from sort of a light gray all the way to bright red and blues. Just beautiful, beautiful all the way around. And it was estimated at 1.5 to 1.9 million, and it made short work of both of those numbers and ended up closing for 3.6 million. Went way over its estimate. But not a big surprise. I thought it was awfully pretty, but you never know. Sometimes estimates scare people off. They're too aggressive. But no, in this case, they didn't think so. And then we get over here. This is the stem cup. It got a lot of attention. Everybody was fascinated by this thing. I don't know what the exact estimate was, but it apparently met its reserves and ended up selling for $9.5 million US, which is a heck of a price. But Nicholas Chow had talked about this and some other pieces, and he seemed to think, he seemed to imply that this was the range they were expecting. And they always have a pretty good idea of interest before the sale starts on the major lots. In particular, they've talked to people. People have asked about pricing, and there's a lot of communication that goes on behind the scenes before these pieces come up. These people don't just walk in and sit down. All of the bidders for these big lots, I'll say 99% of them have talked to the department heads at the companies, get information, worked with them, and come to a decision that way. So anyway, it did fine. $9.5 million for this, and but as they said, there's only a couple of these in the world, so it could prove to be an extremely wise purchase when you're buying only one of maybe 3 or 4 known examples of something. And then we're going to hop over here. The page is a little slow. There was that great Qianlong teapot. Love this teapot. Beautifully done, American period, obviously. It was estimated at $1.5 to $1.9 million, and it ended up selling for over the high estimate, again, $2.6 million, all right? But this was a stupendous pot, and as you recall, it had a whole bunch of script and whatnot on the other side. Hold on a second. Blow this back down. There it is. There's the script. And but beautifully done, and a very rare piece, obviously, and it did great. $2.6 million. And then we're going to get over here, and this was a bit of a surprise, but I never found out what the exact estimate was on this thing. Hold on a second. Well, no, not this one. This was the Ghee-type moon flask. This didn't sell. It was estimated at $510,000 to $765,000. I liked it a great deal. I love these things. I love the crackle. I love the glaze. But what this may mean is that without a mark for 18th century or late Ming period pieces, maybe the people want to see a mark on them, I guess. But $510,000 and up was the estimate, and it didn't get anywhere, unfortunately. But that's the way it goes. And then we're going to hop over here to something else that didn't sell. And this, again, may have just been overexcited estimates, which scared people away, was the pair of Tibetan Dalsai Qianlong ewers. These are very, very rare. Pairs of them are rarer still. They're estimated at $765,000 to $1 million, and they didn't get off the ground. They didn't go anywhere. So we'll have to see if these turn up again somewhere. I suspect they will. They're awfully pretty, and great things do come back to the market eventually. Or they may sell pro sale, of course. You know, a lot of these things that don't sell because of reserves and high estimates do end up selling privately after the sale, you know, from the auction house directly to an interested buyer. If you ever see something you like and it doesn't sell, call the day after. I've done it myself, and we did it in New York years ago. We did really well. We bought a bunch of stuff and got way under the low estimate for the stuff once the sale was over, because the people don't want it back. That's the end. That's the, you know, they're open to sell it. But at any rate, here is this that fabulous Tang glass bowl that was very heavily researched in here. This was an interesting academic piece. They showed a bunch of examples of other types of glass that they did, but Tang glass is very rare. Very little of it survived. And they show a detail of it. They show this, and then they even came up with a painting that's on a wall of a cave. Of what they believe was a glass bowl, and it sure looks like the same creature to me. But at any rate, this one did fine. It had an estimate of $510,000 to $765,000. Again, it's one of those things. How do you estimate this? How do you come up with an estimate? Because there haven't really been any of these in the market. They don't turn up very often, hardly at all. And I think they did a pretty good job to come up with the estimate they did, judging by the result. It sold for $557,000. It's on the low end of the estimate. At least they got it in there. That was a tough move to make. And then on to 206. This was kind of a surprise. I thought this would sell pretty well, and it didn't sell at all. It was this great little Ming low table with the phoenixes all over it. Beautiful condition, lovely little lacquer table. Now, it may have had a condition issue that you know, that isn't evident or something. I don't know, but I thought that would sell. It was estimated at $765,000 to $1 million, and maybe they felt the estimate was too aggressive based on lacquer results of other sales lately. You remember the Irving collection had some very good lacquers that did well, and other collections have been up, and maybe that based on those, they just felt the estimates were too aggressive. We don't know. Someday we might find out. You never know. All right, now over to the Gilt Splash Bronze collection. I'm not going to go through all the prices, but I'll just say that it looked to me like 90% of them sold, and most of them sold in the upper ranges of their estimates, from what I could tell. All top-notch things. A lot of them brought $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 pretty handily. There was a lot of interest in them. because of the type. But if you, as I said last week, if you haven't gotten the catalog yet, get this catalog or bookmark it if you like old bronzes, because there's some very fine examples in here, and it's worth being able to get back to them quickly if you need to, okay? And remember, the catalogs are always available on Bidamount.com in the reference section. We're getting up near to around 500 of them. And then lastly, this didn't sell, and this really surprised me. I thought this would get off the ground. May have been the estimate, I don't know, but I thought this was a gem of a piece of jadeite, and it was a nice size. It was almost a foot tall, spectacularly well carved and in beautiful condition with amazing color and a great polish, and it did not sell. So there we go. All right. Now, over here to the Enamel Jewel. This was the biggest item of the week at the auctions as far as objects goes. They had some paintings that did some, pretty well, too. We don't do paintings too much because there aren't many people around here that collect them. But anyway, we may get into paintings at some point. It might be a little bit of fun. Add it as an element. But this was the Beijing Enamel Glass Pouch Yongzheng, a glass bottle. Done at the workshop, a beautiful example. And here it is. It was done in the Imperial workshop, as we discussed last week. There was a lot of interest in it. It's Qianlong mark and period. Had great provenance, came from Prince Gong, and then went down through a couple of owners, the Bar Collection and the Burnatts in Boston, Massachusetts. And this time around, when it was sold, it brought 1 million Hong Kong dollars, or roughly $26,700,000 US for this. Just a great price, but a great object, and you're not going to see it again anytime soon, and that's the end of that. But what a fabulous thing. There are very, very few of these known, and the quality of it was just fantastic. It was an estimate on request, obviously, but I suspect the estimate was probably 15 to 20 million, and it ended up selling, as I said, over 25 million at $26.7 million US. So good. Glad that got off the ground. Hate to see something that good not find a buyer. So they didn't kill it with a crazy estimate anyway. All right, and now we're going to get over here. This is Ching Imperial porcelain. Here it is. And we're going to hop over first onto page 32. And it was this. It was that great little porcelain, Qianlong porcelain of the boys holding up the vase, this lime green vase, elegantly done. As I mentioned last week, there are about 50 known examples of these that were inventoried. Here they are. Fortunately, the Imperial Palace kept very good records at this time. And there they are. I love how the kid's leg just disappears down into the stand. Anyway, this had a lot of interest. It was estimated at $320,000 to $384,000. And it did great. It ended up selling for way above that. It went for $2.1 million. Quite a price. Over $2 million. So it went just about 7 times its high estimate. Very, very nice. Quite a thing. And let's see here. Over to page 54. No, this was the big Qianlong moon flask. This was the thing that everybody was so excited. I was excited about this. I thought this would do really well, but I don't know what the estimate was. Okay, I was thinking it would bring 3 to 5 million. I think somewhere in there. The estimate might have been more than that. I don't know why it didn't sell. I'm sure there was interest in it, but I have a feeling the estimate scared people off too much. And that's the end of it. If you're selling at these big auction houses, don't push them for big estimates, because once it's up there, it's up there. And if it's a memorable piece and it doesn't sell, they're going to remember it as the piece that didn't sell. The rule of thumb is it'll bring what it's worth, whether you like it or not. And if you're not happy with what it might be worth today, don't put it in an auction. All right, but. This didn't sell, and hopefully it'll come back at some point and somebody will be excited enough to own it, because it is a great example. Clearly a great example. All right. And I'm surprised it didn't sell. I love that thing. But this was something that really got my eye. I thought this was just a wonderful piece of copper red, beautifully done little Meiping vase. As you recall, this is only about 4 inches tall. It's pretty much life-size in the catalog. But the color of this little vase was just elegant, and it was so pretty. The red on it was just ruby. Just beautiful color. What color? And it was estimated at $103,000 to $105,000, and it ended up $154,000 rather, and it almost doubled its high estimate. It ended up selling for $270,000. But I think it's just because it was the form is not especially rare, though it is sort of rare. But the color, the success of the color, just really drove this. Just a gem. Yeah. Ooh, what a thing. Okay, and then we get over to Surquo Wei Li's collection, part 2. This was the much beloved, believe it or not, Hong Kong banker. Yeah, he was a banker that was loved. He was generous to his community, great guy, from what everybody has said about him. And he had a fantastic eye, and he built relationships with some of the strongest and most important collectors and dealers in Hong Kong. And he built himself one dandy collection. And we're going to start with this. I think this auction was over 95% sold, from what I recall of the price totals. Okay, the first thing we have is, let's see here, page 32. Whoops, wrong one. The Jade Sanduo. This was an elegant one, and it was unmarked, 18th century pretty clearly, and a beautiful example with great color. And it had an estimate of $256,000 to $384,000. And it blew through that like Sherman through Atlanta, and ended up selling for $1.5 million. So it went for roughly 4 times its high, about 4 times its high estimate. But an extremely rare thing. I wondered how it would do because it wasn't marked. But apparently, when you're using this great form in such superb quality jade, marks, I guess, it can mean a lot less than they do sometimes. Okay. And now over to page 46. Is that beautiful little jade box I talked about? I thought this was just so pretty. I just really did. I just thought the soft finish of the jade, the wonderful carving, beautifully polished, the proportional shape of it, there's just the whole thing. And this wasn't a huge thing. This was only a little over 5 inches in diameter, but a spectacularly fine piece of jade and beautifully carved. And the high estimate of this was $384,000, and it did 2.5 times that. It went for $909,000. But not an enormous surprise, because it was such a nice-looking piece. It was just really such a nice-looking piece of jade. All right, and then we're going to get over to this. Now, this was something else we had quizzed about a little bit. Was I think this is the one, the Peachbloom Jade Tungshi brush washer. This seemed to have a very, very low estimate on it. Here it is. And it was estimated at around $4,000 to $6,000. And those of you who have looked at these know what they typically bring. Yes, $6,000 to $9,000, excuse me, was the estimate. Here it is. And again, a friend of mine in Asia sent me an email. He had gotten the condition report on this obviously probably for the same reason that I questioned it. And apparently it had been restored. It had some restoration to it. But despite the restoration, this will show you the power of great little Peachbloom pieces. It still sold for $66,000 with a restoration. So perhaps it was not that bad or something, but it still went for 8, 9 times its high estimate, 7 times its high estimate, even with a repair. So that's sort of a nod to how strong these examples are, these Peachbloom pieces. They've always been popular. They've always been very, very popular. And then we get over here to this very, very nice Qianlong period covered jar. The color of this, again, it's about the color, the quality of the carving, beautiful acanthus leaves up here, and the way they did the ring handles, they're all carved out like dragon masks. And this beautiful body with these characters on here and the 2 phoenixes and whatnot. And there was a lot of interest in this. And it ended up doing just fine. It ended up selling for $471,000, right near the top end of its estimate of $515,000. It did great, and off it goes. All right, now, page 95. Let's hop over there. This did really well, too. And it was not a huge surprise that this did really, really well. This was that very, very pretty Qianlong period barbed rim vase shaped like lotuses. And the estimate was $384,000 to $640,000. And it ended up more than doubling its high estimate and went for $1.5 million. But again, Great color, unbelievably good carving, fabulous carving, so superb, and a nice size. This was almost 9 inches tall. Good sized little pot. All right. And then we're going to hop over, was the Ming, that very, very pretty green Ming Charger that we had talked about last time. And let's get to it. Takes a second here. There we go. This one, the bar brim charger, was estimated fairly modestly at $38,000 to $51,000. And as we had talked last time, the glaze looks to be, though it's in really good condition on this. And glaze condition on celadons is key. Always key on celadons. If they're worn, you really want to probably not own it unless it's an extremely rare type, because the value is in the quality of the center of the dish, how well it's done, how good is the glaze on it. That has a lot to do with the price. And this piece had very good glaze surface on the interior. And the bidders rewarded them. It ended up going for 3 times its high estimate, pretty much, $143,000. But quite a thing, quite a nice thing. And it was 19 inches in diameter, so it was also very, very good size. And then a couple more things, and we're going to wrap this one up. Next is that really, really pretty pair of stem cups. These little cup stands, rather, that we had talked about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. Here they are. They were estimated pretty reasonably at $64,000 to $90,000, and I just loved them. I thought the work on them was so good, so tight, so clean, and they really are a true pair. They match wonderfully. The colors match wonderfully. Sometimes you have pairs, and one of them has different colored cobalt, a little slightly different. These are perfect, and the bidders agreed, and they ended up taking them up to $238,000, well above the high estimate of $90,000 again. But just really pretty. They're obviously pretty. Just look at them and enjoy them. God, they're great. All right. And then we're going to hop over here. The 2 Ming Masterpiece sale. This is an easy one to calculate. Had a 50% not sold rate. One of them sold, one of them didn't. It's too bad. I didn't discuss this in the first video because we were having trouble with the catalog. And I wondered if either of them was going to sell, because sometimes these double Ming catalogs that they do, they for some reason people don't jump all over them. This piece didn't sell, this particular piece right here. Here it is. This is a very pretty Xuande underglaze blue cobalt, and they had this sort of reversed out white decoration on it. Mark and period, estimated at $3.1 to $3.8 million. That's a big estimate. Okay, now it's a good plate. It's 11 inches wide, not crazy, but that estimate was a bit on the steep side, I'm afraid. All right, as nice as it is, but you can find others that have sold for a lot less. And that are nearly as good. And then we get over here to this really, really pretty Chenghua bowl. Here it is. It's the one with the daylilies all over it. There they are. There are your daylilies. But beautiful drawing, nice penciling of the drawing on here. This very, very light blue that Chenghua porcelain was so well known for, and this beautiful flowing brush strokes. It's just very fluid, framed within these nice, even, straight lines. But very nice soft glaze and that slightly thickened rim. And this was an estimate upon request item, all right? And I had heard it was the estimate was 5 to 7 million, somewhere in there, and it ended up selling for 7.16 million. All right, so that's right there. It went obviously with the buyer's premium that's included. So the bidding got up to about a little over 5 million. And 5.5 million, and then the buyer's premium took it the rest of the way. But quite a thing, beautiful, beautiful bowl. And these are small. This bowl is only 5 inches in diameter, and 7.16 million is there. I think 7 or 8 years ago, this bowl might have brought a little more, but that's the way it goes. Okay, not a lot more, just a little more. But there've been a few of them on the market, and that's how it is. All right, so that's the look back at the auctions. I think overall they were very good, given everything that's going on in the world and given the longevity and strength of this market. I think this is a perfectly acceptable result. They had a few disappointments, but they had some awfully nice, huge successes. It's easy to look at the disappointments and focus on those. They had a couple. But overall, I think Sotheby's did a great job. And Christie's had a good sale, too, with the Pavilion sale. It did very well. No major blockbusters in there, but they don't generally do that there. That's not their big focus. It's a sale they run to be alongside of this sale, and it's a nice thing that they do it. But Christie's will have other big sales. You all know that. All right, and that's it. All righty, and we'll be back tomorrow with a regular weekly video, and we'll be waiting to see the next big sale that comes out, and that's it. Thanks so much. If you haven't subscribed yet to the Bidamount.com site, come over and subscribe. Get the weekly newsletter notice. Stop in, join up with the forum, submit things on there. A lot of people send me images, through the inquiry program, which is fine, and we're happy to answer them. But some of you may be just as well off. I meant to mention this last week. You can also put stuff on the forum and hear what some of the forum members have to say about your things, because they're pretty good. There's some really smart guys over there that know the stuff and can certainly date them and assist you, and they like to share information. So if you don't want to submit something and pay $10 or $12, drop it onto the forum and get involved over there. They'll help you. They're nice people. All right, and subscribe to us here on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.